But you know, before you answer that, we need to understand what we're talking about. This is what this guy had under his mattress. The number of rounds in here, he had a modified weapon, the weapon he was shooting, with 40 rounds in the clip. And he had this under his mattress. This is what's on our streets right now. In my beginning days of policing, I only was allowed to carry a .38 until an officer was shot trying to reload his 6-shooter because everyone else was carrying automatic weapons and 9mm. But this is what police officers are up against. You know how many rounds that's in here? He could have emptied out his 40 and still had another automatic assault weapon for every responding officer that responded. That third officer in that house, I believe he saved the lives of the people in that house and the responding officers that were going to come when that 1013 was called. You saw the officers come through the door when that 1013 was called. If this guy had this and 40 rounds, something to think about.
Mr. Mayor, what is your specific ask for the president? I know you talked about bipartisan legislation, but is there anything that you want him to do via executive order, executive action right now? And my second question is about ghost guns. What specifically are you seeing with ghost guns? I know Philadelphia has seen 500, they've confiscated 500 ghost guns this year. It's a huge increase. What are you seeing here in the city?
Great question, great question. A couple of things we can do right away. Number one, we have different interpretation if a ghost gun is disassembled. So if someone gives you a ghost gun and it's in a box and it's disassembled, there's certain places where they're stating we don't consider that as a gun yet. We need to stop that. If you have all the pieces of a gun, you have a gun. And so we need to be very clear on the definition. We have to redefine the definition of a gun, because when we first defined the definition of a gun, we didn't have iPhones. We didn't have 3D printers. So we have to constantly evolve because the bad guys are evolving. And so on the federal level and the state level, we need to properly define a gun that includes the disassembling of a gun. The second, the gun violence strategic partnership. If you haven't, I believe all of you should go down and invest, see if they let you in. But right now, on the campaign trail, for those who were on the campaign trail, I talked about the lack of information sharing. We can do this if we are honest about doing it. When 9/11 happened, I saw an unprecedented mobilization from the city, state, and federal level where we said we would never be caught off guard again. Why haven't we done that for guns in the city? And so what I asked the president to do when I met with him is say, can you put together that same response? Can you tell the federal government, the FBI, the ATF, all of our apparatus to come together with the state and city? In August, they did that. And now we're going to enhance that. Right now, every day they meet an unprecedented group of law enforcement people, DAs, parole, probation, FBI, New York City Police Department. They're all coming together and they are doing something revolutionary. They're sharing information.